my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
They're here.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
It's showtime.
Right, welcome everybody to another episode of the VHS Strikes Back. I am one of your hosts, Chris, and my co-host and very good friend is Dave.
Hey there, Chris, and hello to our listeners out there. Welcome to the VHS Strikes Back, the show where we dust off the old video player and go on a nostalgic journey to look at the good and the bad movies of yesteryear. Now, Chris, what are we going to review this week?
Well, Dave, it is a Patreon pick, and we have in person our wonderful patron and friend, Mr. Spider Dan. Well, I'm saying that, I'm bigging him up at the start because the movies picks will be controversial. However, welcome to the show, Spider Dan. And what are we going to be reviewing this week, my friend?
Well, I think it's time. You know, I've been very kind and considerate and patient, I think. But I think it is time that we finally return to the Loving Dead with Nekromantic 2. You guys have said it's not the worst film you've covered on here. It lost the crown quite quickly. I think it was Bad Boy Bubby that took the crown from it, I believe. Then I don't know if it's Demon Fetus that currently has the crown, possibly. You can tell me. I might have lost track of what the worst film is you've seen.
It gets regularly recycled.
Yes, I think it is. It might not be the worst film you've ever seen, but it's definitely the most infamous, I think. And I think it was time to come back. And I thought, I can't really, in good conscience, put you guys through it. I've never seen this either, so I thought it's only, I didn't realize I'd have to be on the first one, so I was like, oh shit. I was like, I've stitched myself up. But I thought it's time. We've had a good, you've talked about it, almost every podcast, I think you've mentioned it almost, and like old Spider-Dan's got another pick for us. What's it going to be next? What's the next horrific thing he's going to make you watch? I thought, we've had a good run. We've had, Party Kitty and Studs, or The Italian Stallion. We had The Dragon Lives Again, the Thing with Two Heads. I thought it was time. Eventually, we've recovered emotionally and psychologically from the trauma that we inflicted on ourselves. So I think it was time we came back to the Nekromantic franchise.
Well, it's good that you say we there, that we inflicted. I don't know why we didn't have any choice in the matter how it should be. However,
hey, I'm paying for this, right? So I want to get my money's worth. This is what you make
a very good point.
You'll get it. I'm going to put you through. I'm going to put you through the trauma all over again. Say a lot of the same actors, same director. Basically the same film, but longer. But longer that I'm sure Chris will appreciate. So I felt I needed to come on again, not in defense of the film, but just to kind of experience it together in a communal sense. And experience is definitely a word I would use with quotation marks.
I have noticed this evolution. I do feel like the ratio of stitch-ups to genuine great movies that people want to hear us talk about is going up. But I did say, when Gore came out, I did say this might be the year of the stitch-up, and we are on par with that, I think.
Absolutely. Well, I said on the Discord chat recently, I was like, I'm never going to give you one that I actually like, because you'll go on a podcast long rant about Operation U-Tree when you did with Labyrinth. I was like, you've not even talked about Labyrinth whatsoever. It's just like, it's a bit paedophilic, this one. All the pedos. And then like recently you were doing Run Lola Run, and it was like, oh yeah, was it Zola Bud? Was it Zola Bud you were banging on about?
He said
Steve McDonald, that was it. Yeah.
That was Dave.
Again,
a young Steve McDonald, they'll have
So I was like, why give you something that you're going to either, and also maybe tear it apart. If I give you something I like, and you go, this is fucking, this is wank, this is this, complete utter bobbins. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that to myself. Fair play to your other patrons who are brave enough to give you things they absolutely adore and love. Fair play to them. But that's not my game. This is how I get my money's worth.
Well, usually I say to you both, or I'd say to Dave, I'd say to you, when did you first see it? Well, you've already said you've never seen it, which makes it even
Last
worse.
night.
Yeah, that's what makes it even worse that this is a stitch up. So, yeah, you've done us it. So, Dave, what about you? I know I'm asking this question. It's fucking pointless. You definitely didn't watch this after we watched the first one, did you?
Do you have any fond memories of Nekromantic?
Fond memories were probably a couple of years ago when this See You Next Tuesday made me watch the first one. And I think what I would say is, I mean, the closest it comes, obviously it was a different era back then. Like, I'm talking 90s where you'd discuss at school and like sixth form and whatever about infamous videos that someone had watched. These actually, there's a really good documentary on Amazon Prime I was watching the other day on the video nasty. And I because of the age I wasn't really aware of the politics of it all. And it was just utterly ridiculous. And it was this very much conservative idea that, all of these bad things in society, well, let's blame, the videos. People never did this before. And now they've got access to these videos where they can see this stuff. It's eroding our society and things. And it's really interesting to go back and watch it. But I'd imagine if any of my schoolmates would have heard of this one, I mean, it would have been infamous. It would have been one of those holy grail type videos that you just had to watch, but not necessarily enjoy. But that's the only thing that comes to mind nostalgically.
Yeah, definitely. And like you mentioned, like Mary Whitehouse, like I'm not for censorship. I don't believe in like
clearly
cutting. though I would edit this film definitely down just in length. But yeah, like I've covered on my podcast Cannibal Holocaust. You went out and watched it yourself, and I warned you, Dave. I was like, Mike and Dave were like, oh yeah, I think I'm going to give this a go, and I was like, are you sure you want to do that?
Sometimes I'm just a fucking idiot though. I mean, it's like, don't press that big red button.
Exactly.
I now cannot think of anything else other than wanting desperately to press that big red button. So when you said, don't watch it, of course I have to go and watch it. And it was also horrendous. Yeah,
and it reminds me of like Seduction of the Innocent as well, the Frederick Wortham book that came out in the 50s. And again, during that kind of McCarthy era communism, because they literally burned comic books like Tales from the Crypt and things like that were so violent. They were like, these are affecting kids. These are, damaging kids and society. And like we lost comic books or decent comic books for a while. Like the Comics Code is very famous, and again, it was very, very strict. So yeah, and again, this film, the director, like the last one, the director is still fighting the very strict German censorship, post-war and trying to express himself. And again, it's that John Waters thing where he's going, if you think I'm dark and depraved and sick, let me show you how dark, depraved and sick we can get. And again, this film was banned in Germany. They literally went into cinemas and video stores and pulled it off the shelves. They in like 91. I'm going to be doing a series of podcasts this year on banned movies with Tonya, and she covers banned books amazingly on her show. Check her out as well, and on Femon and all the wonderful things she's doing. I've helped out with that as well. So we're going to be looking at that. And I think it's a really interesting discussion even now. Like, they're still trying to ban books now and ideas, letting those ideas get out there and people to, find themselves in those books and in those films. I did not find myself in this film, by the way, just to just so everyone knows, I'm not into this. This is not a turn on for me. This is not a shoulder injuring moment for me, this particular film. But I think the discussion is always relevant and interesting, and and the director was like, I don't like this infamy now, it's almost too much. But even to this day, they still don't he says they still don't put my DVDs in main shops. The mainstream shops will not sell it even now, even with the kind of rise of horror fandom and conventions and things like that. It's still a bit kind of taboo, which is interesting as well, like how we kind of view those things. So yeah, I find the discussion interesting and what he's trying to do interesting. The film, we'll get into it.
So what I find interesting about this one is in the first movie, you've obviously got the title, which is, I saw the other week, Math was saying, because Chris had made a comment about, I think it was when we were doing Dragon Slayer, and they'd mentioned the necromancer, and Chris was like, "Oh, Spider-Dan, let's not be fucking piping someone off." But obviously, necromancy is slightly different. So you could look at that and not necessarily know what it is, and it's quite subtle, isn't it? It's like a grey VHS cover, you'd imagine. Whereas this one has gone full on. It's basically the woman who looks like she's not wearing anything. You can't really see anything, but it looks like she is naked, sawing someone's head off. So even with the cover, they pushed the envelope a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And like the reason it was banned apparently was the glorification of violence. And apparently the banning actually had no legal kind of standing, because there was nothing illegal about it. They didn't deem it, a banned material, like in the UK where they did actually properly, I think, legally ban them. And it was apparently you couldn't even own like the reels of it or the video or the VHS, but they had no legal standing. So, it was all kind of, again, like trumped up charges. And again, it's, what I can't stand is people going, "Oh, this is horrible. This is about this and this is about that." Have you watched it? They never have. They've never read it. They've never watched it. They want it banned. Why won't you? Oh, because it has this and it has this. But how do you know it has this? How do you know it's about this without actually reading it and like putting it into context? So yeah, I think it's the kind of hypocrisy again of it and the establishment and going, and again, usually the people at the highest kind of echelons of political, religious power or companies are doing fucking way worse than any of these films could depict, or ideas that they could influence children or people to do these depraved things. Yeah, so I do find it interesting. Again, the film we'll get into.
But I mean, it was worse here, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like say what do they call it, the Obscene Act or something like that, and they got this whole police department, but none of them were really into films at all. No. And it was all just so massively subjective, and they were arresting video store owners. It was so mad. It was very much worse.
And again, it's like there's worse things out there. Like this, they pulled the reel from a cinema in Munich. Apparently, Munich had some real issue with this particular cinema because it would show hardcore pornography. It would show other stuff from, like, stuff that is controversial, that gets people talking. They even showed fucking like fascist movies and stuff, and like propaganda films from the era. And again, I was saying before this podcast, and in the Wikipedia, it says a lot of the critics and the people that have kind of talked about this film was like that Nazi Germany was kind of burying, like post-Nazi Germany, was kind of burying their history, as opposed to like investigating it and saying, how do we kind of move past this? How do we grow? How do we better ourselves? But you could argue, they burned books in Nazi Germany, and banning stuff could arguably be just as bad, like, restricting the access to certain media. It might not be for you, but at least you've got the choice. I think the choice is a big thing when it comes for me, and like censored or banned, Nosferatu, the film that's, that's just come out in the cinema, is based on a film that was banned in Germany. And again, like, that's heralded as one of the greatest pieces of cinema ever made. But it was banned and it almost got destroyed. The only reason we can see that film now is that some of the copies of that escaped to America. So if that didn't happen, it would have been forgotten for time. It would have been destroyed. It'd be a lost media. So again, fascinating, absolutely fascinating topic. But yeah, but again, whether the film is worth saving, we'll discuss, I'm sure. Should it rise from the dead, or should we keep it in its coffin with its green pickled dick?
Well, I think that's a perfect way to say, Dan, let's get into the trailer.
Let's go. flash back to Robert Schmadtke's suicide, whose corpse Monica retrieves from a church graveyard after the opening credits. The body snatcher is depicted with a particularly feminine appearance, red nail polish on her fingernails, pencil skirt, and polka dot blouse. Monica apparently evades notice while carrying Rob's corpse into her apartment, where she unwraps him from the body bag. Now, Chris, what do you reckon to the opening of this movie?
What the fuck are we doing? Right, so so I've got to say, right, one thing that's baffled me, and I know we talked before the podcast, but anyone out there, this movie's readily available on YouTube, like the first one. And I don't know how the fuck it's readily available, because the first scene is a guy there with a knife.
Copyright strike.
Well, exactly. I think people were praying for it, but the guy's there. He's got a big fucking, Crocodile Dundee knife, Rambo knife. He's ready to fucking stab himself, and he's plucking up the courage. And then eventually, when he does, he's then fucking starting to bleed. But all of a sudden, I mean, I've got to be a bit jealous, Dave. He's got like a fucking dong just appears out of his pants. That's then spraying cum all over the ring. So as soon as he starts pumping fucking the knife into his gut, more cum comes out. This rock hard fucking hard on. And I'm like, how is this on fucking YouTube readily available? And these comments underneath going, oh, this is a classic. I remember this. And I'm like, what fucking classic is this? This is horrendous. But ultimately, that is the dead body. It's some fucking guy who gets a fucking stalk on, and he's just fucking coming all over the room. I mean, eventually the cum turns to fucking blood, which makes it even worse. But I was like, and it's all done sort of musically, so there's not a lot of talking at the start of it. And I'm like, I must admit.
Yeah, that's music.
I'm thinking, Spider Dan, you are a bellend, because I'm like, I've got to shut the curtains.
I mean, don't you remember, Chris? Chris, this was the finale of the last one. This was the finale of the last one.
But listen, that doesn't matter, Dan.
How could you forget?
I don't
it's the most iconic scene.
I just blocked it out. I can't believe you just said that. But
trauma.
What I'm going to say
repressed memories.
I had to shut the curtains and blinds, but not for the fucking good reasons of shutting my curtains and blinds, because I'm like, if anyone comes past now, I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, I live in a cul-de-sac, so I'm quite lucky. Then I'm thinking, I need to make sure Sam and Jordan are not in the house watching this. Then the last bit, I've had to come and get up early this morning to watch it. And we have YouTube Premium, which is in my name, and it's a shared one. And I'm like, well, that's got to be deleted off my history. So, what a fucking move. And you're right, I forgot that was the end of the other one. But what a move. And honestly, Dan, I just laughed because I'm like, Spider Dan has done me here again. Fucking horrendous, movie. But there is a production increase in this one. There is a level of production come up. And there is a confession I do need to say when we get into it. I think me and Dave may have the same opinion. But
okay.
Fuck me, this is a terrible movie.
I mean, one of my goals was to give you a film, the worst film you've ever seen, and also one where you wouldn't get a lob on, basically. And so the question remains again.
Lob on.
Yeah, the question remains again. Did you get a lob on with this one?
Well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. There's something about the main actress that she's very attractive. Let's be honest, she's very attractive. And that is the one thing that I'm like, I can't get past any of the stuff that you're doing. However, there's bits in it where she is rather attractive. And I'm like, there's something going on here. Like, what's happened to me? Like, I'm rubbing my head now. I'm like, there's some fucking weird shit going on. I mean, luckily, my search fucking history has not changed to, fucking dead bodies or anything. But I'm sort of like, what?
I mean, last time you knew quite a lot about Marilyn Monroe and what happened to her body.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's an urban myth, that, allegedly. And then I was reading some things that parts of the movie that there's a picture or something in the movie, and that's actually from a proper necrophile who got
a bit of artwork. I sent that to Dave.
Yeah, artwork.
To Dave.
Yeah. So I read that and I'm like, Dan, unbelievable that someone can make a movie like this. Fucking
I
ridiculous.
mean, the reason I pick why I pick, I want to inject a bit of weird for you guys because a lot of the stuff is fairly standard,
yeah.
And and Dave sent me the bamboozle from last week with Spock, and I loved how you were really disappointed, and only got even more disappointed, which was hilarious to me. He was like, "Oh fucking hell, this is shit." And it's like, it's like, "Oh, it's not this. What is it? Oh fucking hell!" But I always like to. I know you don't like subtitles, so I was like, "Got to be an international movie. Let's do that." You've got to inject some weird and some strangeness and some oddness to it. So you've got to stretch yourself and grow. And again, I wanted a somewhat short movie, or an overly long movie. And again, I want to challenge you, Chris. I want you to grow as a podcaster, as a film reviewer.
I wasn't growing for them reasons anyway. Dan, watching this, definitely not that I'm going to admit.
Only when you were looking at that actress were you growing.
Yeah.
It's like the Sean Locke comment, isn't it? Where he's like, "That's a challenging wank."
There was moments, David. There was moments. I'm telling you. What did you think, Dave? The start, fucking outstanding.
Well, I had remembered the end scene because it's just so bonkers. But I guess I hadn't. When you watch movies over and over again, and you can almost remember the particular frame, how the shot is taken, what the actor's doing, but it was like I was watching it for the first time again. It felt different. I don't know if it was any different or they'd taken different camera angles, but again, I was just straight off the bat, jaw on the floor. How do they get away with this? Because you can't. Maybe like to the censorship point, you can't show an erect penis still, which is ridiculous. But this is not just an erect. Well, I mean, it's a plastic cock, obviously, but a spunking penis while he's fucking stabbing himself. I'm like, Jesus Christ, And again, I'm thinking to the absurdity. I can't square the circle where I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to rally against censorship. To me, it's still. I feel like it's a petulant child going, "Well, maybe. I'll show you."
I can see
because that. It didn't get censored, and so the thing they're rallying against is like a petulant kid, like this thing that you thought was there is not there. Whereas in the sequel, it did get pulled.
Yeah, exactly.
So
in a sense, he was right. It did happen. It did occur. And again, he kind of regrets his decision. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, maybe he could have done it in a more subtle way. Let's say. I'm
not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying in my brain and the way my brain works, I just can't square that circle. But yeah, so again, shock him from the start, and then. I'm confused then about what happens because we have this actress and she is rather an attractive young lady, isn't she? Old Monica M, who didn't really have too many other acting credits. Probably when you're in something like this, it does pigeonhole you, it does typecast you a little bit. But I could tell that the level of quality had gone up.
Yeah. Production value, is massively increased. Like I've not gone. I didn't refresh myself and watch that film, The Nekromantic, again. I've already seen it twice in my lifetime, and I think that's enough. I was like, I haven't. But looking at that first scene and then going from that into the new footage. I think he did make a film in between this. I think it was The Toadus King. So I feel like maybe he's applied a bit more of what he learned and improved his kind of, again, the same problems are still there. Like across the board, all the problems with the first film are still here. Inconsistent subtitles, poor music, bad acting.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest problem in this movie.
Yeah, of course it is.
Inconsistent subtitles. That's exactly what I was thinking.
It's too long. You name it. Cinematography. There's like even in the Wikipedia article, there was people going, it's too, like the people making the film going, it's too long, and I agree with that. I think that first opening scene where they're digging up the bodies, it takes fucking forever, and there's again a lot of long stretches without dialogue, and like they show like making fucking eggs for like 10 minutes, and then there's some other stuff, and I'm like, I don't need to see all that. I don't need to see a guy waiting for a girl at the cinema for fucking another 10 minutes. Like, they're really fucking stretching this like 30-page script into like an hour and 40-minute film. So I absolutely am like, yeah, I could have done without that. I think, get to the, if you're going to show me, if it's Nekromantic, let's get to the topic. But I was
kind of thankful of those moments. It's like, you fucking stretch it out, mate.
I need a rest. I need a break.
Listen, I've got questions. I've got fucking questions. So when she gets the body, I mean, Monica's got superhuman strength because she can pick up a dead body, take it out of a cemetery. No one knows. She puts it on a
broad
fucking
daylight
warehouse trolley, broad daylight, wraps it up in like a white sheet with it all around the body, so it looks like a dead body. And somehow she's transported it straight to her apartment, got it up the fucking stairs or the lift, no problem at all. But and we were talking about this before we started recording, but I still don't understand why the body still have blood. I know it's an artistic thing, but the body's green.
Yeah,
it's green, the body, because it's decomposing everything. But they still got, and I know it's supposed to symbolise something. However, the first sex scene in it still baffles me because she's fucking his chest doing cowgirl, but she's getting off on it. And I'm like, but he's fucking...
I think
shrimp dick at the other end. Has she got a pipe on in there or something again? What's going on here?
Yeah, like it's pickle dick. It's pickle dick. I'm pickle dick. He's absolutely great. He's got a tiny thing. And again, me remembering the end of the first film was that a woman digs up the body, and that my remembering of that was that it was the girlfriend who kind of took off with the original dead body, the original, because again, the infamous, and I was waiting for another screwing the lead pipe in again, that kind of scene. Putting a Johnny on it, get the lead out, everyone, get the lead out. I thought we were going to get that, and then I realised about I think 10 or 15 minutes in, or maybe however long, the old girlfriend comes back to the grave, and the body's already gone. She's really disappointed. She's really disappointed. So this is a new character. She's a nurse, and this is the way she approaches necromancy. And she has a group of friends who have film nights who are into the same thing. Because later on, she gets the severed head out and has it as like a centerpiece while they're watching this documentary footage of dissecting of a seal. Again, I didn't know that was in there, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's like again, but at least it's consistent with the first film, at least. But yeah, there is that. But so I think what she's doing is that she's kind of rubbing herself on where he stabbed himself. Like that's her turn on.
Yes.
She's getting off on, because she starts kind of playing with the wound. You see when she opens his shirt up, she like rubs the wound and plays with it a little bit, and again completely ignoring the little pickle dick. She just keeps rubbing that area.
The pickle dick.
That's your new nickname. That's your new nickname. Right, pickle dick.
Well, it's weird, isn't it? Because like obviously, there's a fucking saying my mate says, and I've been contemplating, do I fucking say it about his missus and that? He says it all the time, and it's not... this could be an editing one this day, so I'm going to say it anyway. Here we go. No, it's not you. So my mates, when you say as a bloke, like, I always say you got a lob on or you've got a hard on or whatever and all that. And my mate always says, like, if his fucking missus, like, someone on telly comes on, he always says she's got a wide on. I mean, she's got a wide on for the body, but I don't. That's a terrible thing.
I mean, it's not inaccurate, I guess. But
I thought it was a bit of a 69 situation. I mean, just initially.
Yeah. I think like later on she has a sex scene with a guy, and I think she's further up his torso the way it's shot. I was like, it's almost like The Room levels where he's basically having sex with a stomach.
I was thinking The Room.
Yeah. It is like,
what are we talking about?
I think there's a level of well with this film to acknowledge it. Like for me, this passed the 6 laugh test for me. Like, you know, when you judge a film for its comedic value, you know, for me, I was laughing because it is an absurdist comedy. Like, it's absolutely absurd. All of this that's going on. Like, from the second you see that jizzing cock with blood coming out of it, it's fucking absurdity from the get-go. Like, nobody is like this, or very rare people are like this. You know, live this kind of very, very, very alternative lifestyle, you know, or have these kind of feelings. There are people out there, you know, they do exist. They have that kind of particular turn on and stuff, I'm sure. But you know, there is, like, I was, when those scenes were coming on, like the ending as well, that we'll get into, I'm sure. But I was chuckling all the way through this. Again, I was picturing you guys watching it as well, which added a bit of humor. But I was like, Jesus Christ, what is this? It's absurd.
It's weird though as well, because like the character, we get introduced to the guy as well, and what a fucking job he has. And I'm thinking, I've definitely seen some sort of version of this in RTL. He's dubbing voice sex sounds for porn movies. And then the girl's next to him having a fag, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, this is going to take a proper fucking wow. We're going down some. They're actually going to have proper sex, because the producers
there's
going,
some like real porn they're showing as well, like
proper porn, and he's going like, oh yeah, and she's like going, she's fagging it and everything. But then I'm thinking, are they going to start having sex because of the fucking to make it real? You know, like for the dubbing sound. Well, that never happened. That was the only highlight of the movie that I thought maybe it takes a sinister, not sinister.
I was like, watching that, I was like, this is Chris's perfect job. Forget podcasting. Get Chris on this.
Like a dream job.
You know, like,
well, instead of the voiceover stuff.
You know, all this. It was brilliant.
Scheiße.
Das ist gross.
Das ist good.
Das ist sehr gut. Oh. I love that he's doing this. I always think that pornography is really bad when you hear the man more than the woman. I think like there's something like they're doing it wrong, or something's going wrong there.
Well, I've got a story.
Here we go. Yes, here we go.
I remember this fucking vivid. My mate, we went to Benidorm 1998, and I just got with Sam, so I was being a good boy, and I was being a good boy. We've gone for the World Cup, watching it in like Lineker's bar and all that. And I was on the balcony. So I was like, I'm staying on the balcony. I don't want to get involved. There's 8 lads going, my brother and everything, and all my mates. I'm like, I am not getting involved in any of your debauchery. And I didn't. I was a good boy. I still stand by that, Your Honour, and I was. But one of them, never forget this, there was some fucking scousers below us, these girls, right? And obviously we're Mancunians, so we starts with like the football stuff and everything. And one of my mates has a little bit of action with with one of the girls, right? But he's sharing a room with another mate who is ill, and he's got the fucking shits, my mate, who's ill. But he's been ill for nearly 2 days, dead. We dyed our hair blonde. He had blonde hair, dyed his hair black. It's a strange situation because he wanted to be different because he didn't want to be blonde because he was blonde. So anyway, he's under the quilt. My mate Gary is slipping this girl on.
I think you've told me this.
And there's no noise coming at all. But we open the door, and there's my mate next to it enjoying himself, shall we say. It was almost like he was in Amsterdam. I'm not the one who was ill. But the next night, and all you could hear was Gary doing a bit of grunting because we was like, what the fuck's going on? There's something weird going on here. One of the other lads gets with her, and it was like a scene from a porn movie, and that was it. Then Gary got absolutely
you've told me this is where
the shrimp dick thing come from. Were you doing it right? He just got fucking rinsed for that, and
God,
it was unbelievable. But he's never lived that down for years. So yes, luckily I'm not changing names for artistic usage, by the way. Chris or anything like that. Just throwing this story out.
It was a mate of mine. Yeah, someone I know.
Yeah. His name was Christopher.
Chris.
Chris.
Chris, I'm ashamed to admit I've only just noticed your username for this podcast as Pipe Lover. I can't believe I sat here for I don't know how many hours we've been talking before we've even started recording this, and I've only noticed that your handle on this call is Pipe Lover. Jesus Christ. Brilliant. 10 out of 10.
Well, it wasn't that before I got kicked out, did it? Before we started recording, it was actually called Pipe Fluffer. I think it was
Pipe
called originally, but yeah, I had to rush back in. So Pipe Lover.
Maybe
Yes.
I did see it, and I was just like, "Oh, that must be something to do with his work. That was something to do with something he does at the job. He's there. He's got the lead out. He's got the lead out. He's putting it in.
The side hustle.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a side hustle. But I do think like with the movie, it almost feels a bit like Samurai Cop 2, where it's fully aware of itself in some respect. You know, the production's gone up. It's the same tone, so it's not like they're looking at the camera and we've got Frank there going like laughing at people like you're doing that. But I feel that when you get the guy, obviously he's going on a date with a completely different girl. It's not even mentioned, is it? And it's just that she's late at the cinema. And you think it's the nurse, and she turns up, and he just gives her the ticket. One, she doesn't question it. Two, they don't have a dialogue about her being late or anything. Next minute, they're a couple, and it's like, and it's bizarre because he sort of knows what she's into, and he's like, "Well, you haven't killed me yet," and I'm like, "There's going to be time, pal. There's going to be time."
and
then we get this
You are
like,
dicing with death a little bit, aren't you?
yeah, exactly. She sort of reveal what she's into, and then they go on this love story. They're going on the big wheel, the fucking, you know, the really sort of in love, and then there's a bit where he's upside down, fucking trussed up, and I'm like, oh, he's getting it now, and he doesn't get it, and I'm like,
It's a bit of a fake out.
there is, and the nurse obviously is then going about a day job as well, Monica, and there's a few things going on. I do think the fucking movie's diabolical, but there's more of a story to it in parts. But then there's bits that jump, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I can follow it more because I'm actually getting anxious for him, thinking you do know that you're going to get killed at some point in this movie, don't you? Because the only way she really gets off is off a dead body. So you're
I think it is a parody of like melodrama and romance and romantic comedies, like because they treat it like super seriously, like this is a love story. You know, they're not going like, oh, look how silly this is. They go, it's like you know, Naked Gun, isn't it? Like the comedy there comes from them playing it straight. And I think them taking it seriously and like there's that wonderful shot where there's like a light in the background, and she's coming. The shot is her lips coming down on the dead body and kissing it and like tonguing it, and it's all the kind of mucus is going on her mouth. Like that is clearly like peak comedy. Like what they're doing there is hilarious because they're framing it as what a gorgeous, beautiful, classic love story this is, but it's between a woman and a green, decaying, decomposing corpse. You know, which again, it was making me absolutely piss myself. You know, I live alone, and again, I had a moment where. Did you? I had a moment. Speaking of drawing the curtains, I had a moment, and I realized as well I didn't close my front door properly, and I'm watching this at like, I don't know, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and I can just they're doing the porn thing, and I was like, and I heard someone's door go, and I was like, maybe just turn it down a bit, turn it down just a little bit, bit.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm laughing as well. They're like, why? What is he laughing at? Like, all he can hear is like this, you know, and there's me laughing towards that. So I'm like, they must like, what the fuck? And like, I think normally they'll probably think, what the fuck is he watching this week? Anyway, from the stuff I watch,
a regular occurrence, I imagine.
Especially this one at the time of day I was watching it as well.
Oh, it's outstanding. And you know what's dead bizarre though is when she decides to sort of lead a normal life with this Mark, doesn't she? And she severs his body, and then she keeps his fucking head and his cock, basically. And I've got not being funny, his cocks look really small, but when she's sawing it, she's like she's sawing a fucking oak tree down. She's like, you know, she's going for it. But Mark sort of discovers this and doesn't go, oh, I need to get the fuck out of here. He's sort of like going, well, there's something not right about this relationship. Well,
I think he doesn't know what it is, though. I think he looks at it. He doesn't go, oh, that's definitely a not. Like, if I looked at that, I'd be like, that's strange. Is that like wasabi or, you know, some kind of weird looking pickle dick? But Like, I don't think I would
That's a
recognize
sniff
that.
test.
I don't think I would recognize that.
Oh, Dave. Fucking hell.
I don't think I would recognize that as a dick. So like, he does know that something is off. Like, he goes to his old
Yes.
girlfriend and is like, and to be honest, I kind of agreed with the guy when the woman was late. I was like, yeah, I'd try it on with a random woman and just say, here, do you want a free ticket? I dated a woman once that I went to a pub. Here's a story from me. I went to a pub and I was seeing somebody. I kind of reconnected with somebody from uni, and we were going to go out. I went back to Preston. She lived above the pub, so I went to the pub and I was waiting there. I got there early, and then I said, "Oh, I'm downstairs. Let me know when you're ready." And then she's like, "I'm not going to be ready for a while. Just sit there." And I did. And like an hour goes by, or half an hour goes by. A message. Half an hour goes by, and like she does come down eventually. And I was there. I was like, fucking hell! Like, and then the next time I go, and it's even longer. It's like she makes me wait like an hour and a half. And I'm like, what am I still doing here? I'm a fucking muggins here. We're just waiting around for her. And I got pissed. And then she judged me for getting pissed while I was waiting. I was like, what else do you want me to do? Sat around here. She wouldn't let me come upstairs. She felt like, which is fine. I don't want to like invade a personal space or anything. But I was just like, what the fuck am I supposed to do for like hours on end when you're not ready? When we organise to be ready for a certain time, what the fuck am I supposed to do? So if I had the opportunity, I probably would have cracked onto somebody else while I was in the bar.
Necromantic in that time.
Yeah.
Well, there's your opening line, Dan. I've got 2 films to this German fucking sequel.
Expressionist.
What's this?
I love that he goes this, and that the woman's idea is like, there's this really interesting film I want to go see at the cinema, and they go, and it's 2 naked people sat there talking about birds and eggs. No, they're eating.
Yeah.
And again, like that's like a parody within a parody. Like you're parodying, the romantic films. Now you're parodying like these art house films as well, like these kind of like My Dinner with Andre type things. And again, which happened kind of in the first film. There was a couple of cinema visits, which again I think is just to fucking stretch the film out to feature length.
Yeah,
I think that is the only reason they're there. I think that's the only reason the animal kind of dissecting footage is there as well. And again, like this is far too long. There's so much like long stretches of like not like every detail. Like in the original Friday the 13th, they show the entire process of making coffee, like the entire thing, like with no cuts. Really, just I was like, cut that fucking out. And this, and again, like digging up the body, doing this, doing that, and then like cutting its head off, cutting its arms off. Like was shown in like graphic, long, takes and detail of that. And I was just like, oh, get back to something, a story. But I think I am with you, Chris. I think I do prefer, in some ways, I prefer this to the original. I think as well, showing it through a woman's eyes and a woman's perspective is interesting, because I know in the first one, like he kills a prostitute because he can't get hard on, and when she dies, he can have sex with her then, and that's kind of really quite a troubling thing. And that was kind of like the upper extreme of this, like even when I was watching it going, fucking hell, So I think it's interesting to see it from her perspective. And again, like there's not only that there's like not one woman that's into it, not 2 women, but a whole group of her friends as well are all into this kind of stuff.
And they're quite attractive as well. So we're verging on an RTL special here at some point. He's sort of like, because when he turns up for them, and that's the thing. I said I watched it in 2 parts, and you said it before. You didn't know this.
I mean, the body's in more than 2 parts, so it makes sense.
Well, yeah, the body is. I mean, if the body stuff doesn't offend you enough, there is obviously a dissection of a seal again on YouTube. No, and that, you didn't know that. And I that was the bit that I put on. That I thought, I'm going to save it, and I'm going to save the last half hour, so it's fresh in my head. Go and have a shower, complete. I
want to give this my full attention.
I'm going to make sure. And that was the bit. So you do literally get, like you said in the first one, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
there is a full dissection of a dead seal. So it's quite gruesome. And that sounds, what sounds so silly. I was more offended by that than the fucking dead guy fucking severing his cock off or picking a dead body up. It shows how you, as you were saying, joking aside, how your mind works and how like the director, as much as I think this film's an abomination, he's also playing with the audience, going, well, where are your morals really? You know what I mean? It's quite an interesting question.
Yeah, like I think like I mentioned it on the banned books. I think what offends you is quite revealing. to who you are.
Yeah.
If you recognize it, if you just go, oh, I don't like that. This is offensive to me. I'm upset by this. I don't want to see it. I want it destroyed. When actually you should be asking, why does it offend you? Why are you upset by this? What is it about this that upsets you? Instead of doing that introspection and looking into yourself, going, yeah, why did that upset me? Or why did that comment, annoy me? Or why did that person, do I have an unconscious bias about something? Or is there something, in my childhood that I'm recalling due to this? That's what's interesting to me. Is a lot of people would rather shy away and again, like we were talking about, like Nazi Germany, they're like, oh, we don't want to talk about it, we don't want to go into it or look to resolve it, we'll just bury it and hope that it never comes up again in conversation. I think World War II will come up in conversation somehow, anywhere and everywhere and historically. But I think people don't like to face things or uncomfortable questions or situations. And again, I think this film is asking you, and it's not. I think some films do challenge you and force you to look at yourself and how you feel about certain topics, and I find that really, really interesting. And I think this film does do it to a degree as well. There is that, but yeah, I it's so bizarre, but I find it ultimately the idea behind it is fascinating. The film itself, again, it's not winning any Oscars, though. Like you said, Chris, there are people who genuinely like this, who would genuinely think it's underrated, who genuinely think it's a classic, a cult classic. Yeah, I don't agree with them, but I can see where their argument would be in regards to it. I think again, I think it's with art. I think I like the idea of what people are striving for and what people are trying to get across, as opposed to, that's why I like talking about kind of bad films, because I like how to hear how they failed or how it's confused or how it didn't quite work, but what were they trying to do or say with it? And I think this is a good one for that examination. But again, I'm not a defender of this film. It's not something I'm enjoying. It's not something I'm going to revisit, but I still found it entertaining. I do have a question for you guys, though. When you have an ice cream, it's a sweet, very sweet thing. Would you follow it up with a burger and chips afterwards, like they do in this film?
I have ate my dessert before my main meal in the past. It has been known when I was younger, but no, I wouldn't. I'd have the ice cream at the end. That's
I was like, you're going for this soft and
top.
Sweet kind of, Mr. Whippy type thing, and then you're going right, greasy chips and burger. I'm like, yeah, I don't think my stomach would like that somehow.
No.
Again, I didn't pick up on that at all. And it's interesting what you say about the being offended by something. I think that's slightly different level. I think where I am is genuinely repulsed. And I think that's normal, right?
Sure, yeah.
Because again, I'm thinking, well, if you're into that stuff, surely you pick out a sort of fresh body. Again, I think my brain just is a bit too analytical. I'm thinking, well,
fair enough.
The practicalities of it. Clearly the guy didn't
sense.
have a few. I mean, what you're saying about the director and what they were going for, I do think that in the first one, he was more just trying to put the most offensive things onto screen.
Sure.
Whereas there's definitely more of a story here. The fact that she's obviously read this story, fallen in love with the story, decided to dig him up. It looks like they haven't given him a funeral or cleaned him up or anything. They've just wrapped him in a bloody sheet and chucked him in the ground.
Well, I was going to say, it's like they call it a pauper's funeral, where you don't have any money for a funeral.
Yes.
They just kind of, it's very cheap. It's just like, we've got to put a body in the ground. Let's do it, inexpensively.
So it is a thing then.
Yeah, so it is a thing. So my mum works for a company where, unfortunately, she has a job where when children die, some families need help with paying for funeral costs. So she has to kind of deal with that and help them get the funding they need to kind of, give children a proper burial if the families can't afford it. So yeah, and if that's not the case, they would probably get what we call a pauper's funeral, basically, which would be, again, I don't think it would be as crude as what we're seeing in the film, because that's meant to elicit a reaction. And it's meant to be that's why she can take the body, because he's a nobody that she's seen in the newspaper, that she's gone, okay, I'll come back to it. And again, it's not like it's not in a crypt or anything nice or anything like she's going to struggle to break in. It's just like a mound of dirt she can just dig up, which she does, in extreme detail. But
it's the fact that she's read the story, so I'm thinking it's a fairly recent thing, in the last few days. But he's decomposed, like he's been there for 6 months or something.
I mean,
it digs him up.
It's a clipping, but again, as we've seen with the girlfriend, these particular people for the film need, because if it's a regularly, they couldn't do the type of things they want to do within this film if it was just an actor being the dead body, like they're going for that, they're going for the extreme. So again, it's a newspaper clipping, so it's not necessarily that it's happening.
It could have been from like 6 months ago,
exactly,
I guess.
exactly.
But the thing that I'm getting to is I don't understand, like you say, when you've got that shot, it's framed there and she's coming down to kiss him in a very slow and sexy, sensual way. I don't understand why he's so juicy. Like,
he should be
he's really juicy. You can see, like, he should be dried out and stuff. And I'm like, oh, fucking hell, he's really juicy. And, like, key plot point is, again, when you've got this rubbing situation and she's going down on his little pickle dick there, that she throws up, because the actual practicalities of it, she throws up. She wants to have sex with this thing, but she actually can't. And that's going to, come into play later on. But yeah, I think I'm like my mind is off in these places of the practicalities of it, and so I think I'll hold my hands up.
Yeah.
But the difference is, I think usually when we're using that word about being offended by something, it's now you want to take control of whether other people can see it.
Exactly.
That's the big difference.
And I think that might be why it's on YouTube, because I think people want to have access to controversial material to make their own mind up. And I think that's why it's on YouTube, and that's probably why people haven't taken it down, because it's this underground film that nobody really cares about. If it was E.T. or Star Wars, then they go, right, we can make money off this, so let's take it down. But I think with this, it is kind of that the lost media argument where like films like Cocoon, for example, is not available now. Is basically a lost film because you can't get it on DVD or Blu-ray. It's not available. It's not on streaming. So you can't see that film. And until very recently, 28 days later, which they're making a sequel to, it wasn't available. There hasn't been a recent Blu-ray or DVD release. So the price of that shot up recently. And again, it wasn't on streaming. There was only the sequel on Disney Plus recently. So there is a kind of an argument for kind of piracy. I'm not condoning piracy, but I think if we want to remember and record these things for history, then in some ways piracy is the only way to do that.
Cocoon's on my shortlist somewhere, I'm sure. I didn't realise you couldn't get it. Do you know the reason for that?
No, I just think maybe it's just not a money spinner. It's not, maybe well regarded, or again, it's the people with the big bucks making those decisions. Maybe they just feel like nobody wants to see old people and aliens. Maybe, I don't know. Getting a second lease on life. It's
a lot better than half the shit we watched, to be fair. In my memory, at least.
I mean, I'm sure somebody has a copy, or they could rip it or something somewhere. But yeah, there is a precedent for this, and I think that's why there's so many like 70s, 80s, and again, these are all like readily available. Kids could watch these if they wanted. I do believe in like age ratings. I don't so much believe in censorship. Like when they put on like Indiana Jones at before like 9 o'clock, and the guy like shoots a guy in the head, and all the blood spurts out and stuff. And I'd rather if you can't show it before 9, put it on after 9. Like, put it on after the watershed, so I can watch it in its original form, and you don't have to make any edits or cuts and stuff. I like, even if it's offensive, I'd rather watch something as it was intended for my viewing pleasure. And then again, I can acknowledge its faults and appreciate for what it is. But yeah, that's kind of what I think why I think it's on YouTube anyway, potentially.
Well, if you were someone who's into looking for Cocoon, if you went onto the Internet Archives, it may be there in its glory. The full 157 minutes.
Yeah.
But other than that, you are correct, Spider-Dan. But yes, it is available.
See, I'm not talking out my arse, Chris. I know what I'm doing.
You've done well there. I don't know, because I hate that movie. I used to see that trailer all the time and go, I'm not watching that shit. So Dave,
you've given Dave an idea now. You've just done it. You've done it.
Well, I'm sorry. It's not available anywhere. We can't watch it. I'm sorry.
Chris, you're making a lead pipe for your own back.
What an amazing demonstration of self-sabotage. Like, literally, oh look, no, you can actually get it over here, and I fucking hate that.
There we go.
Oh, right. Well, I did have one in mind.
It's actually one of my greatest films ever, Dave, actually. It's one of my greatest ever movies. But anyway, let's get back to this. So, what fascinated me with the end bit, right, and I've got to say, is
it's
obviously
incredible. This end sequence, incredible.
It's unbelievable because obviously Mark comes back. You know, she shows him the seal with it. He's enraged. He's not enraged by the fact that she's into dead bodies or anything, and she's got a fascination. But he's enraged by the seal now. So we're back there.
Yeah,
and then they have they fall out. Then they all make up. Then they're having sex, and I'm like, well, it's standard RTL. Friday night special, make sure the door's shut and we can hear the stairs
on
creaking
the door,
and that.
on the door.
Yeah, next minute we're doing press ups if I get caught. But then, oh yeah, well, you're not wrong with the danger wank, Dave. Never. It adds to the excitement. But then also, she then does eventually, kill him. But it's the bit where takes his head off and puts Rob's head there, and I'm like, and then finally she orgasms, which is part of the whole movie, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't get on board with this. I've gone all the way here where I'm praying, like you said earlier, Dave, I'm praying for the scenes where we're not seeing the dead body fucking slipping a one, and even the seal scene was awful, probably the worst bit of the movie. But then, and obviously on top of that, she's fucking pregnant as well. So it opened so many doors and questions, but it literally blew my mind.
I'll get on to that, Chris, in a little while.
Yeah,
but yeah,
unbelievable.
So, and you mentioned as well, she puts a fucking zip tie on his cock.
Yes.
So he's done. So they're there. The boyfriend's there, and they've had a falling out. He thinks she's disgusting and depraved and a bit fucked up for watching these kind of things, which again is the criticism we talked about from the general public and the censors and everything. So she brings him round, apologizes, and then they start having sex as you do, and then about halfway through it, she pulls out this kind of like serrated saw, I guess it is, and starts just on his neck, cutting his head off, and he's like, it's absolutely hilarious. So stupid, so ridiculous, and it's just like, and you can clearly tell that it's not his body, and he's underneath the bed, like the original film, like it's not his body on the thing, and then hacking away, and it's like, and then she's getting off on it. She's like, yes, getting off on it, and then as obviously the blood loss would lead for the penis going erect, as that's where all the blood is, shooting out the top of his head, in covering the room in blood, like just this kind of absolute kind of splatterfest film, and then she zip ties the dick, and then you're like, what is she up to? Like zip tying the dick. I was like, okay, I understand that, and then I'm like, she gets off him, and then she's in a rush, and then all of a sudden she just dumps the big green head that she severed earlier where his head should be, and that's it. That's where she absolutely goes cowgirl style, riding roughshod, bareback. Absolutely going for it, going for the gold, to reference long distance runners again.
Steve Crum.
and again, like the whole film is her kind of like trying to get to this point. Like she's fascinated by it, she's interested, she's looking through. She shows him this book when they're dating, and it's like, here's my mother in the casket, here's my dad in the casket, here's my little brother in the casket. Like it's like he's like, okay, she's a bit kooky and a bit weird, but I like her. And like, he talks to the ex-girlfriend about it, and like that was just, again, pure comedy for me. Just like, I was like, what am I watching? What is this?
Ridiculous.
And then again, and like, ends, and she's just kind of lying there in kind of like, post-coital bliss, very happy with everything in her world. She's like, finally, I've achieved my climax. The climax of the film is the climax of her story and the climax of herself. And then we kind of cut to this hospital room, and this guy just walks down a corridor. Very, very, again, very bizarre, interesting shot. It walks again the full length of the corridor. Like, again, no cuts. Like, just cut to the most interesting fucking bit. Don't have all this shit in it. Like, I'm like the editors or the producers. Like, we got to cut this shit down. It's far too long. All of this. I don't need these breaks like you guys do. You wimps. I want to get to the action. Let's cut to it. And then he goes, oh, by the way, you're pregnant. And she goes, oh, and then it ends, and we get the end with a big skull on the credits, and that's how we go out. Saying that, Chris, now there's no more film sequels to Nekromantic. However, in the last few years, Jörg Buttgereit, the director, has kind of worked with a German comic book company. So there is a end to the trilogy in a German comic book form. You can get an international copy, and I'm looking to get a copy of it because I've got to finish this off. And I think the title on the comic is Nekromantic, but I think the story inside is called Son of Nekromantic, and it has an artwork of Monica M. You can see her likenesses there. So there is more Nekromantic content out there. Weirdly, speaking of censorship, I went on the website, the German website, to see if I could order it, and it was a reasonable price. And I was like, okay, I was looking at it, and you have to send in ID to be able to log into the website to be able to buy it. So again, they're kind of bizarrely the content that these fans want. I'm having to send in I have to send in either a passport or a driving license, some form of ID, just to be able to log in to access the website, to buy stuff on the website. To buy that comic on the website, I have to give over that information. And I actually tried. I tried to do it. It's like, email this thing. And then my email wouldn't go through. So I'm like, what's the fucking point then? It wouldn't work, the email. I tried it. I was like, here's the ID, here's everything. It wouldn't fucking...
I've been checking my bank statement.
and then I was like, right, okay. I have found another place to get it, but the shipping is fucking astronomical. But I might still do it. If I've got the pennies, I might still get it. Maybe I'll put it out on Patreon, my review of it. Maybe I know John Hammond, another of your patrons, is a big fan of these films. After I introduced him to it, he's got a T-shirt and everything. Yeah, he's fully on board. So maybe once I've reviewed it, I'll pass the copy on to him. Maybe we'll see. But yeah, not the end of the Nekromantic franchise. This film.
Oh God, I'm intrigued to figure out how the trilogy finishes now, because the theme, I guess, the reoccurring theme, as well as all the shock stuff, is the big finish. In every sense of the word. So obviously, you had the guy in the first one, the girl in the second one. So I'm intrigued. How the fuck are they going to top that?
It's a bit of foreshadowing, because apparently it's about a seal that's into, necromancy of the seals, Dave. Yeah. The seal comes back. That's what was leading to the trilogy. When the seal gets decapitated, that's actually what the third film's based on, a seal. Yeah. That loves fucking dead seals and stuff. But anyway,
speaking of body parts, I'm recording another podcast today for my own channel on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which is again not too far from this, not too dissimilar. A lot of body parts being dismembered and put back together in that, and a lot of sexiness in there as well. So yeah, that's my plug for myself. Obviously, got to plug something of mine.
You got to plug in, Dan.
But guys, this has been amazing. Again, thank you for having me. Again, I probably not delivered as much actual critical or analytical thinking in this, because I'm just absolutely pissing myself. I'm a big fan of you guys and all the podcasts you do. I'm always chuckling and having a good laugh, and on the Discord. And I did the American Psycho watch party last night. I haven't done one of those with you before, so I had a good chuckle with that. And
that was a good laugh. That.
Yeah, this is a great podcast. If you are not already a patron of this podcast, you bloody well should be, because you can force them to do stuff like this.
Dan, stop it, Dan. No, well, thank you as well. That's lovely.
For a second there, I was like, "Wow, this guy is selling,
Absolutely.
so well. We're a bit shit at it. We are.
Yeah, we'll share that. Yeah,
Like, this guy
thanks,
is good."
Dan.
And then you close it out right at the end. There. You can make them watch this shit.
Yeah, got to give a little, but you've also got to take it away as well.
Yeah,
I can't be too nice. Can't be too shit and too nice. You've got to find the balance, so the karmic balance. Yes, absolutely.
Well, we're not going anywhere yet, Dan. So, shall we get into our scores?
Let's go.
So, Dan, it's usually me. You go first on the scale of the VHS Strikes Back.
Okay.
Where are you putting this masterpiece in your mind?
So we're looking at Alderaan. Alderon's the worst. Then Elm Street. Then is it Hill Valley? I want to say Hill Valley.
Hill Valley, yeah.
Hill Valley,
Pleasantville,
and then
and
Pleasantville
Cloud City.
and Cloud City. Okay. So again, I didn't put this in Alderaan the previous film. I didn't put that in Alderaan because I think there is some artistic merit to that, and I think. Same again. I don't think it's the worst film I've ever seen. I think for me, the worst film that a film can be is boring. Though there is very long stretches of boring shit in this film. I think that the highlights kind of, again, past that 6 laugh test for me, chuckling, sounding like a maniac, disturbing my neighbours with all the stuff I'm watching and reacting to. So I'm going to put it in Elm Street again. Again, I think in some ways it is an improvement. But also at the same time, I don't think it is. I think if you are a fan of Nekromantik, there are some people out there, and you like the first one, I think you would like this as well.
And if you are one of them people, we'd love to know who you are. But anyway.
Send us a comment. Let us know. Tell us the benefits of necromancy.
So, I will say this movie is fucking terrible. There's no fucking artistic merit. It is better than the first one. I don't know how. Mainly because of the lead actress. He's quite voluptuous and rather nice. And there is some sort of RTL moments that just kept pricking young 13, 14-year-old Chris's interest. Going, oh, hang on a minute, this could be the sort of movie. Not that I'd watch this sort of movie, but these similar tropes to the old German pornos type films. But no, it is awful, and I'm sorry, Dan. I can't believe it's on YouTube. I cannot believe that there's 2 versions on YouTube.
All right, Mary Whitehouse. All right.
I know. Yeah. It's just ridiculous. So it's going to Alderaan. It's not the worst movie ever. So you're not having that title, Dan, but it's not far off. And I think the first one,
I'm glad.
For the pure shock factor of the first one will always be worse because I was literally jaw on the floor going, what the fuck is this? And I went into that completely blind. Whereas with this, it's a sad state of affairs when a seal is getting dissected and you want to go back to some woman fucking a dead green body. It just played with my mind. So anyway, but there you go. Dave, what about yourself?
Well, I just... To repeat what you guys have said, this is better. Like, the production quality, the filmmaking is a bit better, but ultimately, the fact that there's a bit of a story there. Now, I do feel I felt queasy watching it, even just in this conversation. The queasiness is kind of washing over me again. Like, I can't. Yeah, I'm just thinking back to it, and there are some images that you just can't unsee, and you're just like, oh, fucking hell. But it's a level above the first one. I think the first one was mostly about just chucking in shock value things and then just trying to assemble a movie. Whereas there's a bit of character development, you can see why old Monica M there. And they've all got, what I like is all the actors have got their on-screen names as well. So Monica M is Monica in the film as well. But I'm not going to put it to the bottom here. I'm going to put it in Elm Street as well. I do think just it is a better movie to watch. You know what it's going to be. So, I'm not saying I will ever watch this again because I probably won't. But, I do think it's a better movie than the first one.
Good stuff. Now, Dan, and thank you, Dan, for this one. It is not.
Did you
You're in the
did you just
presence.
thank, Did you just thank
genuine.
me? Did you genuinely thank me for this?
I'm thanking you for what you've done to us both again, because I will be traumatized now. I'm definitely going to be seeking online help. But you're in the presence of not a Patreon pick next week. It is my pick, Dan, and you're going to hear this before it actually gets released. And now, obviously, you have just brought a cultural masterpiece to the table. Milestone. And obviously, it's my first pick of 2025. My last movie was Santa with Muscles. Something that really, Oscar worthy. Asked so many questions about the genre of movies.
What are they trying to say? What are they trying to say with Santa with Muscles?
I still can't understand. I still understand the messaging there. It's quite confusing. But with this one, I'm not picking the legend that is Lauren Avedon. I'm not. A movie came across my desk this week and I forgot all about it, but it was a movie that I've watched so many times as a kid. I bought it on VHS and I don't know why, but loved it. It was never up there as The Lethal Weapons. It's a comedy movie with two iconic greats. So I don't know if you've seen this one, Dan. I don't know if you have, Dave, but we are going back to 1986. This movie stars Eli Wallach, Dana Carvey, Alexis Smith, Charles Durning, and Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster. This one is tough, guys. So let's get into the trailer.
Bigger than life and tougher than ever, two of America's most beloved actors, Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster, have teamed up again, but this time on the wrong side of the law.
I think
Train
I have
robbers
seen
forced
it,
out of
yeah.
retirement and
I'd
back to
forgotten
what they
about
do
it.
best, stealing. Lancaster and
this as a
Douglas
kid, I
are
don't know
the tough guys.
You know, Arch, I never met so many stupid people in one day. Ugly, too.
This was quite big at the time.
It was,
Douglas,
Yeah.
Archie Long,
Burt Lancaster.
It's one of these films
My
where
name
you have
is
the
Harry
old
Doyle.
actors come and
Tough
do
Guys.
some retro thing, isn't it?
I'm 67, and
we
these
love
ain't
this
disguises.
They've been in prison since 1956.
Kind of almost like a celebration of like old Hollywood. You know, that's
Now
Yeah.
they're out, and things have changed. Men have changed. Women have changed.
What are you doing? I'm the man. I'm supposed to do that.
It's basically Cobra
Music
Kai.
has changed.
yeah, I guess, yeah, like back in the 80s.
Workouts
Remember
have
these
changed.
guys?
Yeah.
Kirk Douglas, so
The
he's
old
70
gang
years.
has
Keep
changed.
fit as anything.
Yeah.
The old neighborhood has changed.
I remember that guy.
The only thing that hasn't changed are Harry and Archie.
Stop waving that gun in my face.
Who's gonna make me Grandpa?
You're the last of your kind.
We are.
All they
Is
want
that
is respect.
Dana Carvey in
Long.
a straight role?
Yeah.
All they get are rules.
If you don't
eat your food, Mr. Doyle, I'm gonna be
I
very
think that's
upset.
Haley
All they can
Steinfeld's
do
dad,
is
that
break
guy.
them.
That big guy.
I
Yeah, I
don't
think
fit
so.
in anymore.
He did a horror film, I think, once.
Makes two of us.
I could be wrong, though. Either that or I've seen him in something before.
Let's go back to doing something we really like doing. You mean like robbing and stealing? You could start by giving him your gun.
You know what? I've seen this a lot as well, Chris.
And you have, yeah.
It's ringing a bell, yeah. Some of the scenes.
Oh, we honestly, I remember the VHS. We had it. What's
I'd say you've been
times without that?
I will say, guys, it doesn't look very funny for a comedy. Don't think I've laughed
We're
much.
just someone shagging a fucking dead body.
Yeah.
Hey, there's some comedic value to that, I said.
Nothing's gonna stop us.
It's one of those films that it's the one
Kirk
joke,
Douglas.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's old
Burt
guys
Lancaster.
coming out of prison
Yeah.
and
Friends for
experiencing the
years.
80s.
Yeah.
That's the
Legends
joke.
Like
for life.
Space Cowboys,
Tough
remember that
guys
one?
forever.
Yeah.
These two guys are dead meat. You got a deal, right?
God, that is pure 80s, that song.
From action to laughter, from fantasy to thriller, from the greatest movie makers in the world, brought to you by Rank Video. A vision of the future.
Love it, absolutely love it. So that's my pick, and never on my list. It just it literally saw something on YouTube, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, I used to watch that a lot. So I don't think it's going to stand up. I'll be honest with you. I think it's going to be a thingy, but it doesn't really matter.
No.
It's my pick, Dave. So anyway, Before we go, Dan, I've told you all the plugs and that. Where can everyone get you? I know you about the podcast. What are you doing? What's up next?
So yes, you can find me on spiderdownthesecretballs.com. I've got a YouTube channel. I do some kind of videos, but mostly like you guys are mostly just audio. And yeah, spiderdownthesecretballs.com. We've got a link to the original Nekromantik podcast on there in my collaborations, a link of links. So you can go back and listen to that and see what you missed from that first one. So yeah, lots of good stuff on there. Videos, kind of, you name it, all sorts of stuff that everything you'd need potentially to know about the podcast is on there. But yeah, I just want to say thank you again, guys. One of the things I do as well is I like to suggest films to you guys that I am either too scared to cover myself, or I'm like, oh gosh, this is dicey content. But who I can get to do it, the people I pay, I'll get them to do it. I also want to give you films. I try and give Andy these as well. Like, you've seen the kind of stuff I show Andy, like Frankenhooker and things like that. I'm always trying to find films that I want people's partner to walk in and go, what the fuck are you watching? That is exactly the kind. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to get out of this and out of this podcast and out of my patronage to you guys. But thank you again. It's been a blast being on. I'm glad to have come on for this. I think it was important that I was here for this, I think, to discuss it. If not, maybe I did defend it a little bit. I don't know. But yeah, I always have a blast. And again, your patrons are so kind of positive and they're a great group of people. And yeah, just brilliant show. Keep it going. There's never a week that goes by where I'm not smiling and chuckling at this podcast.
That's amazing. And I actually think you're right. We have an amazing group. I think you had an influence as well on a previous pick, because Mike Burton chose Dragon Slayer. And he thought, well, this is fucking terrible, so I'm going to inflict that one on them. And I believe you introduced him to that on Disney Discussions.
We did. That is also on my website under the Disney Discussions. It's on YouTube as well. You can find a link to that. But yeah, I picked out a load of films that weren't on Disney Plus because of various reasons, technically kind of banned from Disney, I guess. Not because they're necessarily offensive. I don't think any of the films are like, it's not like Song of the South or something like that.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but they just aren't on there. And they're kind of when Disney was experimenting, going a bit spooky, a bit scary, trying to be a bit more like, trying to do films like E.T. or Raiders and things like that, trying to get away from the family-friendly image. And that's Black Hole as well was one of those. And that was when they decided to create Touchstone Films and the various other different film studios, like Hollywood studios as well was one, where they could, go out of their comfort zone of the family-friendly stuff without affecting the kind of Disney brand name and tarnishing that. And I think that's arguably where they were their most creative and interesting and risk-taking. I don't think Disney is not known for taking many risks now with the dozens of Star Wars shows and Marvel films we get. I don't think they take any creative risks in the fucking remakes that we get, and Lion King, Mufasa sequels, all that sort of shite. Sick to death. All of the Disney remakes are dreadful. The ones I've seen, I've only seen 2, but I imagine the others are just as bad. So yeah, but yeah, thank you again, guys. Yeah, I've got that Mary Shelley's Frankenstein coming up. If you want to go back and listen to the Frankenhooker one with Andy, I think you'll enjoy that. It's very similar kind of topic.
I did watch that. It's on Amazon Prime, or at least it was, and I did watch it, and yeah. Very mad.
Absolutely. Proper bonkers, but proper fun.
Oh, thanks again, Dan. Brilliant stuff. Honestly, I'm going to listen back to this pissing myself laughing, irrespective of the movie, honestly. But big thank yous, everyone. Massive thank you to you, Dan, again. Like I say, you supported us for such a long time. We do appreciate it. And everyone else's support. If you do want to support us, get over to patreon.com/The VHS Strikes Back. If you want to follow us on social media at VHS Strikes Back. If you want to email us, the VHS Strikes Back @gmail.com. So the roll call of honour, and a big thank you to Gareth, Mike, Lee, Helen, Dylan, Dan, Justin, Susan, Timothy, Matt, Hales, Ken, Lucky Green, Herbs, Jax, Math, Blake, John Hammond, and Mr. Tony Farina. So thank you so much, everyone who supported us on Patreon, past and present, and we do really, really appreciate your support. So Dave, what have you got for us today, my friend?
So, Chris, I've decided to lean heavily into the parody that is this film. And so the whole love story that we have as we follow Monica along. So if you imagine like a really sexy music setting with like Barry White and Prince doing a bit of a duet there, then this one is called
like this.
yeah, this one is called Love Conquers All, No Matter How Dead.
Brilliant. All bass, Dave. You're on the bass there.
What sexy that is. Oh, yeah.
Maybe I was harsh on the movie and it's actually a love story. And I read this music.
It absolutely is.
Yeah. Isley Brothers, Dave.
Imagine putting this on with your lady friend and
When you're dead body. Yeah.
just maybe not listening to the lyrics.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't listen to the lyrics.
It's hard to kiss when you're lying flat. The sailors turn. Whoa, that's not a lie. But they didn't mean it for this kind of guy. This romantic love. Oh, what can you do? Total stitch up.
One for the ages, this day.
Yes, it's true. Dig it up, dig it up. Love so new.
Imagine
It's
this
so
on
fucking
a love boat or something like that.
I was thinking that love boat.
It's so fucking weird and wrong.
Who was quiet and still? Friends say, girl, you've got to move on. But how can I leave when the spark's not gone? They don't understand. The Chinese don't get our love's decomposing, but no regret. Moving nights are tough. It just stares at the street. But I see it is
Entertainment show on a Saturday night.
It's a little bit crazy, like any music. But who cares when it's just oh so juicy?
A
Romantic
little bit crazy.
what can you do? A total stitch up. Whoa, yes, it's true. Dig it up, dig it up, dig it up. Oh, love so new. It's just so fucking weird and long. It's necromantic too.
That's line of the song now. Go build up, Dave.
It's a bit of a long one, this one.
Oh, I took out the soul, had to make it right. A little bit of here for every night. Chopped him up small, it's my thing. Long's easier to handle when it's in the deep freeze. Ooh. Necromantic love. Oh, what can you do? a total stitcher. Oh, that's a true thing, yeah. Oh, love so new. It's so fucking weird and wrong. It's necromantic too.
At home now.
That should have been the end of the movie. That should have been the outro.
You can imagine it, can't you? I picture like being on picture being on a cruise ship or something like that, and like I say, just lent very much into the sensual side of it. But yeah,
absolutely
great. Some of those lyrics. It's so juicy. One of my favorite.
Yeah,
crazy like Gary Busey.
Crazy like Gary Busey.
Gary Busey.
You have to work pretty hard to get a rhyme to juicy. To be fair. But Gary Busey did present himself.
That works.
Oh, brilliant. That was so good. Dan, brilliant.
But guys, thank you very much for indulging me there. Amazing chat. Go and subscribe, even Patreon, sign up to Spider Dan and the Secret Boars. Get it right. Chris, thank you so much. Part of my enjoyment of this movie, honestly, is like Dan's making you watch it. But yeah, we'll be back again same time next week. So thanks to all our listeners, thanks to all our supporters, and we'll speak to you next time.
Bye.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
I'll be back. That's not.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Wax on, wax off.
Get to the chopper!
One ring to go.
All right. Ding, ding.
Bust you up. Go for it.
Well, here we go. Ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. Come on, ain't so bad. Ain't nothing. Come on. You must be crazy or something. I'm crazy. You just stupid. Yeah, maybe you stupid. I ain't breathing heavy. He's a fool. He's stupid. I see you in 6 months.